It is my honor to introduce the greatest bodybuilder on the planet, the recipient of the 2017 iconic Sandow Trophy, the 7-time Mr. Olympia, Phil the Gift Heath.
We are sitting with the #1, let me say it again, the #1 bodybuilder in the world, 7 years in a row, according to Mr. Olympia. He's won it 7 times, soon to be 8. This is the #1 guy, 7 billion people in the world, lots of people in the bodybuilding world. There's only one person that can be #1. He's #1, Phil Heath, the Gift brother. Thank you for taking the time for being here with us.
Absolutely.
I've been looking forward to this. Really, I got a lot of questions. I'm curious. What is your playlist when you work out? Do you listen to like Sade? Do you listen to Kenny G? Or is it Hit 'Em Up by Tupac? What are you listening to when you're working out?
Well, it definitely is going to differ if I'm doing cardio or a crazy leg day.
Interesting.
Because, you know, when you're doing cardio, you know, you might, for me, I might be doing like some audio books or stuff like that just to pass time and actually try to learn something. When you're doing legs, and I use legs as a big example, because who really likes doing it? We all know that it requires a lot of focus, a lot of drive and determination. And we also know that you could potentially get sick because people go really hard at that. I always listen to heavy metal for
Seriously.
legs. And
There you have it.
And you hit it on the head with Tupac. It's like you gotta have something that's very intense. The words have to be meaningful. I don't really get into the new age of hip hop because I can't really understand everything they're saying all the time. I feel like I'm an old guy
That is
now.
so true though,
But
right?
I'm old school, you know, I'm still listening to NWA, I'm still listening to Snoop Dogg, like his first album. I'm still listening to Jay-Z, I still listen to Nas, I still do all of that. But when I'm really trying to get after it, I usually have in my playlist, I can give it to you right now, I usually have Five Finger Death Punch, I usually have AC/DC, I'll have Dr. Dre, Tupac, Hit 'Em Up is for sure. I mean, but
that's gotta be at the top.
So Many Tears by Tupac.
Wow.
I'd say Snoop Dogg, Who Am I? You know, the one where he says, what's my name? That probably is my most favorite song of all time. I could be having the crappiest workout or even the worst day. I put that on and nothing else matters. I'm like, because it's like saying, who am I? Like, who are you? Like, what are you here for? What are you doing? The gym is the only place where you can essentially be yourself for 1 hour or 2. You don't have to answer the phone. You don't have to really communicate with anybody but those weights, those machines. And that's like my time. So it's like you put that song on and nothing else matters. And I think that's why I identify with more old school hip hop. I mean, I could throw an Ice Cube, No Vaseline. Like I could go way back. Like
that.
Like, because it's like a point in time in my life when I was a teenager when I remember hearing this and it just got me going. I can listen to Public Enemy, you know, Fight the Power. Like, I mean, how do you not, if you hear that song, you guys listen to that song and you're staring at 500 pounds on a squat rack, you know that you got to go after. You know that you got to go give maximum effort. And that's what I do in the gym.
So Phil, before we get into some of the questions, did you one day wake up and just say from, 8 years old, I'm going to be Mr. Olympia, I'm going to be the, bodybuilder 7 times, I'm going to be this. So how did that process take place from you going to where you are today?
Quite the opposite. I grew up in Seattle, Washington. My biggest thing was basketball. Growing up, watching, I had the best childhood. Got to see the end of Dr. J, Bernard King, to like Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas, this guy named Michael Jordan.
He was
all right. Yeah, he was all right. And really get to see like real competitive basketball. That was what I was into. I was always into that. But I do remember watching a lot of ESPN, and then every so often you would see a bodybuilding show on ESPN. And that's when they used to even showcase like the junior nationals. This is amateur competitions. They would actually put on like a Saturday afternoon. They had already pre-recorded it and stuff like that. I remember seeing this stuff.
It's crazy you say that, I remember that.
And I'm like, what's this? But here's the thing, I never thought that it was weird. I never thought anything negative. I thought comic book heroes on a stage. And I didn't know the names of those competitors at the time, but I did know who Schwarzenegger was because at that time in the 80s and 90s, he was polarized everywhere, you know, with movies and stuff like that. And obviously Lou Ferrigno because of the Hulk and all that. So I always gravitated toward muscles, even though I was playing basketball. And in high school, being a basketball player, people used to make fun of me all the time because they're like, dude, you should be playing football because you're already kind of built for that.
So you were that guy. You were
I was always built.
Now, were you training all the time?
No, I didn't lift weights at all.
Genetics.
Just you know, just regular stuff. Recall the Herschel Walker workout: push-ups, sit-ups, squats, air squats. That's it, and that's what I did. Remember, Shaquille O'Neal said, "Oh, you want to get bigger calf development and be able to jump higher? You got to do, you know, if you live in a house that has stairs, do calf raises. Just do calf raises. You can't do no more." So every night I was like, well, I wasn't blessed to be tall, but I could outrun them and I could try to elevate. So I learned at an early age that some type of physical fitness was important. And that was back in the day when Schwarzenegger was with George Bush doing the President's Council of Health and Fitness, the fitness challenges and stuff that were available in elementary school. That was a big deal. And where I grew up in South Seattle, where we had, you know, myself, we had, you know, a lot of different Division I athletes that turned pro in various sports. And we all grew up in that same area, went to that same elementary school. So you're dealing with really good athletes trying to do the flex arm hang or pull-ups or shuttle run. I thought it was great. And that's back in the day when field day was like something special. So I can say that although I didn't grow up aspiring to be a Mr. Olympia, I always aspired to be healthy and strong. And I tried to use that in basketball because I knew that I was not blessed to be tall. I didn't have the longest arms.
Well, I've read and heard things that you would do the windmill dunk at a young age.
Yeah.
You were already, you had a high, you had a vertical leap. I don't know what the number was, but.
Yeah, my junior year at the University of Denver, you test in and standstill vertical was at 40. So standstill. So it worked because I'm just under 5'10". So ain't no coach gonna take a chance on a guy that's under 6 foot that can't elevate to the basket or even get a shot off because he can't jump high. It definitely enabled me to earn a Division I scholarship. I didn't play a whole lot, but you know, at the end of the day, I was able to, you know, get a pretty good set of degrees, you know, with IT and business. So that worked out well. And it actually promoted me into doing bodybuilding.
And I think what's cool about you is a lot of times, you know, in the world of bodybuilding, you know, people see somebody with a lot of muscles and they say he's probably just big and he's not very smart and insightful and all this other stuff. You've heard this before, meatheads and all these.
Oh, for sure.
You're probably one of the sharpest cats out there, you know, in your world, and you represent the industry in a way where somebody's sitting there saying, I got a 4-year degree, I did school, and I got some stuff. Maybe I ought to consider, if this guy's thinking about it, I ought to consider as well. So, you know, from there, did you was it a dream to go become an NBA player, or was just kind of something you did? Did you say one day I like to play? Was that a thought?
I still remember it. I was a junior in high school, playing really well, averaging quite a bit. And then we had this transfer come in by the name of Jamal Crawford.
Wow. So on your team?
On my team.
Oh, you played with Jamal Crawford?
Yeah, we won state together that following year. So here I am knowing that, like, it was already in the Seattle Times, like, watch out for Heath next year. He's going to probably be one of the leaders in scoring in the state. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool until this guy comes in and he's a pro already.
Did you know it right off the bat when you played with him?
The guy was torching guys in summer league. You know, the guy's playing against grown men, putting up 50 points in pickup games on these guys. I mean, it was like no joke. The attention to detail that Jamal had, I had with school and other things in life, and we shared that. And being able to play with him, even against him in practice, taught me a lot. Taught me that I probably wasn't going to go pro, and I should probably go to a university that has a great education. And so that's why I picked
Did you identify it right there where you knew in order to compete
I knew what I was up against. I mean, it's clear as day when you're getting a stack of letters this big and he's got a full mail bin. So it doesn't mean that I suck. It just means that he's exceptionally well at what his God-given talent is. And he's putting everything into that. I, on the other hand, should recognize what I'm also good at and stop trying to live vicariously through, you know what I'm saying, thinking that I'm the same as him. If I thought I was the same as him, I'm not 6'4" or 6'5". I don't have long limbs. I don't have the same handle as him. I don't look like him. So I drew it out like this. I said, okay, let's just say best case scenario, this all works out. You go play ball, you do your thing. Phil, you're 5'10". Probably by the time you're 28, 29 years old, your career is over. Now guess what? The people that you graduated with are 6 years into their profession.
Career.
You're gonna be working for them. You're gonna now work for them when you were just as smart as them earlier.
But how did that lead into bodybuilding? Because bodybuilding, there is not a lot of money unless if you're in
No.
the 1% echelon, right?
You're right.
I mean, it's not, you said it recently. You said 20 years ago, if you had a contract, you at least had a $100,000 contract by some of these supplement companies. Today, there are thousands of supplement companies, and all they care about is themselves. They don't want to give contracts today.
No.
So it's tougher today than it was 20 years ago.
A million times tougher.
And even 20 years ago wasn't that big. 20 years
Right.
ago, you had to be,
The
a top
greatest,
5
yeah.
to even compete in the world.
Yes,
So how
correct.
did the thought go to a point where you're a pretty confident guy?
Yes.
I mean, some people will even say maybe past confident, but
Right.
definitely it's not somebody that doesn't have self-confidence.
Right.
So did you say, you know what? I think I can go into bodybuilding and I think I can compete for the top spot.
I knew that I was at a point in time where I was getting ready to graduate because I played 4 years straight, and then my 5th year I was finishing up school, and that's when I got into bodybuilding. And then I just started running into guys in class. Like, this guy was smelling like tuna and broccoli all the time. I'm like, what the hell is this? And who are these people on your laptop, man? At the time, we're talking about 2002, 2003, I got Brooke Burke on my wallpaper on my laptop.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? She was fine. So I'm
Yes.
like, I got her on my stuff. You got these dudes in these posing trunks. Tell me more about this. So he tells me about it. I'm like, oh, I heard of this Flex Wheeler dude. I heard about this Kevin Levrone guy. That big ass dude.
El Somati.
That's, well, him too, but Ronnie Coleman. I'm like, because he was the champ at the time. So I'm asking him about this, and he goes, you want to learn more, man? Come to the, don't go to the varsity weight room where, your athletes go. Go to the public weight room. I go to the public weight room. I'm like, man, these guys are getting after it, man. This is pretty cool. I'm like, oh, man, there's some strong cats in here. So I just started training with them. Next thing you know, I started supporting them, going to their competitions.
Yep.
Ran into a couple pros that kind of recommended that I should give it a try. One guy by the name of Claude Gruel, he had just won the Masters Olympia, and he had said I should give it a go. On October 8th, 2002 is when I said, okay, you're gonna become a bodybuilder. No more basketball. That's it.
Decision.
Took a picture with my tracksuit, with just the bottoms, did a little pose with a 2.1 megapixel camera. Took that picture and said, this is my starting point. And after that, I took a picture every week of my progress. I just figured, well, read books about nutrition, read books about training, buy Flex Magazine, Muscle and Fitness, you'll learn. And then take the pictures, because at that time, Body for Life was a big deal through EAS. Through
Bill Phillips. Yeah,
So everybody was,
his magazine was Muscle Media 2000,
Right, yes.
which my favorite magazine at the time was, because they actually got deep into it.
as a matter of fact, that's how I was able to prove that I really wanted to be a bodybuilder. You know, when a basketball player will go great lengths to go find a court. So for bodybuilding, it wasn't necessarily I was breaking into gyms late night. I worked at a Bally Total Fitness. I was a retail manager. Instead of going to IT World, I did this.
You worked at Bally's.
I worked at Bally's office in Glendale, helping people with nutritionals, making smoothies. People were like, dude, you got too much education to be working behind here. And you know what's funny? A lot of people laughed. They're like, yeah, I'm making my smoothie, dude, this and that and the other, just trying to just talk down to me. And I'm thinking to myself, these guys have no idea. One guy in line was seeing me get harassed by someone that I guess I didn't fill up their shake all the way to the top. And she was just going off, and I just said, you know, I was being nice. I just said, you know what, I'll make another one for you. My apologies. Here's a card. We'll get you another free one on your next visit. No problem. Oh, you're just an idiot and this and that. And the guy says, actually, that guy that you're calling an idiot was a Division I basketball player at the University of Denver. He got 2 degrees. Da, da, da. And then another guy goes, well, then why is he working here? And that's when I said, you know, I probably should insert myself in this conversation. And I said, how old are you? You go, I'm 31 years old. I said, oh, that's good. Where'd you go to school? I said, oh, that's right. You didn't go to DU. You're giving me a hard time trying to posture based on what my job title is. Little do you realize, I treat this store as if it was my own. I'm getting free education on how to run a business. I do all the hiring, firing. I do all the payroll. I do all the ordering. I meet with all the distributors, all the manufacturers that, you know, for the supplement companies and whatnot. I know what comes in, I know what comes out, I know the planograms. I organize all these things. I know the profit margins of not only third-party nutritionals, but also Bally nutritionals to keep these lights on. So I know profit and loss, I can do a whole P&L analysis, I know all this stuff. I know operations, and I actually use that from my degree. So at some point in time, don't you think at 23 years old, maybe I get a little older and I learned that maybe I can do this on my own. but I'm getting free education with this. There's kids that work at jobs, it could be anywhere, fast food restaurants, this and that. It's just a job, it's just a gig. They don't really care. Other ones will say, there's some real business into this, man. I want to learn like how my little store can outdo every store in the state, not just in quota, but in profit margin, because that's what matters to keep the lights on. I tell people this, when you become a professional in anything, the level of magnification is greater than when you're an amateur. Imagine my picture being on a slide. You're doing this. As an amateur, magnification maybe 10 times, pro 50 times, top pro 100 times, Mr. Olympia 250 times.
And then first place,
Right.
7 years in a row.
500 times.
Right.
Because it's all about the negative at that point. Now, as an athlete, let's be honest, man. Athletes, I don't care what people say. They want to be loved, man. They want to be appreciated. We're being adjudicated by judges based on what they feel is right. And maybe it's their own personal preference too, along these guidelines. So you're training essentially hoping that they like you. See, I treat life like a leg day. Who wants to train arms with Phil Heath? People line up around the corner. Chest, 2 lines around the corner. Legs, I don't know, man.
I'll see you tomorrow.
May have 5 people out of 100 because they know it's going to be painful. It's the unexpected. It's the most uncomfortable situation you're going to be in. Who likes to be uncomfortable? As an athlete, you realize like this is a game. So like you said, Ted Williams, Usain Bolt, all those guys, when they would hear trash talk and this and that, they're like, okay, all right, now let's go do it.
Do you intentionally create it? Because you talk a lot of you're a shit talker. I mean, it's like everybody knows you are. So do you also kind of do it to get the other guys riled up?
There's 2 reasons. Well, there's multiple reasons, right? Number 1, you're trying to sell. Does Phil Heath get any portion of the ticket sales? No. But let's be real. When people are so-called tired of being a champ and this and that, I don't want you in hiding talking this trash. I want you to say it to my face. But you won't say it to my face because you know my mentality. You know that I'm gonna absorb that. I'm gonna embrace that. And I know how to use that fuel better than they do.
You obviously are not talking about Kai Green. I mean, you're
no,
not.
You're actually, for him, I mean, he and I had a great moment. He chose to choose different pastures. Hey, fun, things always have to come to an end. Move on. The other guys, personally, I think there is respect. And here's my thing. I would tell a lot of them, get my cell phone number. You could text me and be like, hey, Phil, love you, dude. You're the big bro. You're the king. But I'm coming to kick your ass, man.
Who has said that to you? Who has had the audacity to say
No
it to
one.
you? So then here's a question for you. Do you think it helps to know that there's not a definite number 2 that can really compete with you today? So for instance, as a fan, some are sitting there saying, here's the Vegas odds to bet. Bro, you got number 1. Everyone knows who's going to win number 1. Then you have everybody else. Why the hell bet on anything? Because no one's going to win first place. Do you think that's good for the sport?
I'm just going to be real. What they should do, this is what the athletes should do. Second place has been shifted from Dexter Jackson to Sean Roden to...
It keeps changing.
It keeps changing. So what they should do, those guys should start talking shit to each other. They should be saying, that's where the rivalry is. There's some inner rivalries within every league. It doesn't always have to be the top team and the second place team. It could be other teams or other individuals. If you're always trying to come after me, why not make a 3-headed monster coming after Phil Heath, the top 5, this and that, and explain.
So you would tell them to team up and try to compete against each other, so strengthen each other, then somebody can compete against me?
But they should be anyway. They're trying to be too...
Realistically, can anybody beat you?
I guess realistically, yeah. I mean, I can get injured, God forbid.
Minus that,
hell no.
You take care of yourself pretty good.
No, I mean...
You're disciplined. It's not like you're partying Friday night, Saturday night at the Denver nightclub.
Things happen. I mean, I won last year with 2 hernias and an intestinal strangulation problem. And I still won.
So this is the part, I'm with Cuban, and I ask Cuban a question. I say, Mark, look at the Golden State Warriors, man. They're killing it. He says, Pat, don't get too excited. He says the Warriors are 1 ankle injury away from not even making it to the Western Conference Finals. He said this to me, right? And I'm like, you know what? I never thought about it. But if there is no injury, does anybody stand a chance?
No, because I was hurt all the last 4 years and didn't address, I mean, who doesn't address a hernia? I mean, gosh, it wasn't as bad. I didn't feel it, and, it wasn't hindering performance. So I was like, well, no big deal. And then I started seeing it, and I was like, oh, this is a problem. And then realizing that after the surgery was over, it was supposed to be a 15-minute, 25-minute surgery. It took 2 hours. So therefore...
How long was recovery?
Now I mean, I got it done after the Olympia. So now I'm, as of January 1st, here we are in February, I've been able to train. So,
just last 6 weeks. So since September till today, you haven't hit the weights.
Well, September to January.
December, let's just say, end of December.
So,
So you're saying they may have a chance this year. Come watch, because they could actually have a shot.
actually, no, I guess.
See, I'm with you. I'm on your.
Well, the reason why I would say no is because, in layman's terms, when you go through a hernia and you have two, and then you have an intestinal strangulation issue, that means that it cuts off the blood supply to certain vital organs. Therefore, your body can't renew its own blood supply to feed those proper organs, which in fact would feed those cells that actually make your muscles more volumized. So if I'm already,
Interesting.
So in bodybuilding, we want our muscles to be shredded, also separated, but also volumized, big, round, cartoonish. My body hasn't been very cartoonish over the last 3-4 years because it's gotten progressively worse. But now, since that's been taken care of, I can go by pictures, I can go by blood work, I can go by, what my doctor has showed me, and then I can go by physical performance. I've been able to, just over the past month, do exercises that I couldn't have done 5-6 years ago without pain. So what is that gonna yield? That's probably gonna mean that the blood supply is now renewing itself, because it usually takes anywhere from 56 to 90 days for that body to really do that.
This is real rest. You know how they say sometimes it's good to take a week off?
So now this is actually I've been winning with a problem.
Every year.
And now it's gone. So yes,
I see what you're saying.
If a betting man was already betting before, it's like, well, hell, he was beating you guys with 50% of his abdominal core. He was able to beat you. So at 98%, because that's where I'm at right now. That's according to the doctor.
You feel you're 90, but
no, that's what the doctor said. He said, I sewed you up to where you're 98%. When you're retired, we'll have to go in there and redo everything. You'll have a scar. I couldn't rock a scar on stage.
You don't have a scar
No,
right
I have
now.
no scar at all.
You can't rock a scar.
No.
Not in your world.
Not in my world.
It's like tattoos. Mr. Olympia, tattoos don't help.
Don't really help.
Yeah.
So I guess the competition has probably been quiet because they're waiting to see what I look like just off season. Because they're like, well, wait a minute, what's he gonna look like?
I think social media has changed your world. And this is what I mean by change your world. I think sometimes when the money comes too early, your fire goes away. I'm an 18-year-old kid, okay? I've been lifting weights.
Right.
I get on a cycle and I start looking good. I get on another cycle. Now I'm looking good. Instagram, I start putting pictures and I'm doing all this other stuff, right? And I'm like a decent, half-decent, good-looking guy. Now I have 820,000 people following me. Now I got 1.8 million people following me.
Right.
Now I got a supplement company comes in and says, I'll pay you $50,000. I'll pay you $60,000. I'll pay you $30,000. I give you a $100,000 contract. Now I'm making $300 grand a year. I'm going to the clubs. I'm getting all the play, but I don't have to put your work ethic in. You know what? Screw it. I don't want to be Mr. Olympia. That's crossed off. So do you think social media is helping or hurting Mr. O? Not the other side, you're Mr. O.
I think it's to the point where maybe not the champion of Mr. Olympia, but the other guys. So if you're looking at an 18-year-old kid nowadays, they have a hard choice to make. They want to be YouTube or they want to be an athlete. There ain't both, in my opinion.
I don't think so either.
Because when you're doing skits, you're doing a skit. Did Kobe Bryant do a skit? LeBron James do a skit? Michael Jordan do a skit? No, they were too busy in the gym doing their craft.
The difference is in basketball, you can't make money. There is no you know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So in bodybuilding, it's like, what is your main goal, man? You just want to be liked? Because let's be real, you take down social media, you take down the internet, I would be a god. Because what would they go by? Go by the statues, they go by the trophies, they go by the accolades of what people want. You take away any type of social media in all sports, you're gonna go by, well, who's the champion? Who's the best? Not the who's the best on YouTube and this, that. I'm not gonna sit here and discredit anyone that has made a living off of social media, because at the end of the day, they're content creators. Great, hell, send me your business card. Maybe you can create some content for me. But at the same time, perfect example. Why wouldn't Kai Green continually compete? People say, oh, he's afraid, this and that. No, he's not. He realizes that it's probably better for him to create more content, focusing on commerce. He can create content and look just as popular, because now in his heart, does he feel like he's more popular? Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, but he knows he's not Mr. Olympia. We're old school. These kids, they just think like the loudest person in the room is the most valid. We're all still trying to learn these algorithms and all this other stuff. Hell, I'm an IT guy. I get this world. It is very difficult to kind of figure out this social experiment.
But it's so easy to make money today.
It is, but then you just become just like the next guy. What differentiates all the YouTubers, all the Instagram models, all these girls that are holding up tea and this and that and the other.
Yep.
What is the difference? You show your glutes more, your butt more, your boobs more. A guy shows the V in his freak,
Yep.
taking pictures in the public bathroom.
Yep.
Mr. Olympia doesn't take pictures in the public bathroom to get noticed. This isn't art. This is lots of determination, lots of strain, mental, physical, emotional strain. Now, if they think that they could cross over into my world, they got another thing coming, because I could easily cross over into theirs. There's the difference. So if we're talking about like, how do I try to influence other kids? It's like, well, look, you're trying to be a bodybuilder but don't want to claim it. And I think that's sad, because you're trying to do the same things as a bodybuilder and this and that. You don't want to claim it? Why? You don't think it's cool enough? Oh, you don't want to be judged. You want to live in a society where it's through the third person. You can edit everything.
Photoshop it.
You live in a virtual world, and that's what people live in right now.
So this is my opinion about your world. I think your brand is missing one thing. And I think it's missing a Dana White. I truly believe that. I truly believe you need a Dana White that comes in.
You need someone to make this larger than life.
I really believe that.
You have to force this down people's throats.
I think if I'm in that world, and if I want that tradition to continue, because if you don't change something right now, the next 20 years, it may be a different story. I would go look for my Dana White. I'd give him a shitload of equity, a 9% type of a number. And I'm not promoting anybody. I don't know anybody that would be. It would need to be somebody from your world that actually, like a Rogan, who knew that world, and they brought him in. They brought Dana because he was in the Pride or Belfort, whatever it was that he was a part of. I think you guys need a promoter, because I think that brand, Mr. Olympia, needs to come up. And so how do you do that? Maybe the purse's got to get high. Right now it's like $450.
I think what needs to happen, I agree. I think we have Schwarzenegger, who's great.
He's a great promoter.
Yeah, right. So, and then we just recently had Dwayne Johnson and his production company, $7 Productions, work with the Olympia brand, doing the production and whatnot. I do believe those two people, in order to make this grow exponential, not only have to speak more about our brand, but use those corporate partnerships and show videos like this of showing athletes' stories, and let people know that we're not dumb. Maybe some. Maybe some. We dispel a lot of negative stereotypes. And I don't care who you are, what sport you love, anytime there is a sign of strength, of accomplishment and achievement, they all pose like a bodybuilder. They all pose. Boxers, they do the face-off. They pose.
That's right. LeBron pose.
LeBron pose if he dunk on somebody.
Green.
If someone gets an and when they pose. A running back runs someone over, he poses. A linebacker crushes the quarterback, he poses.
That's right.
Where the hell are you learning this from?
That's right.
Cristiano Ronaldo hit a goal, he taking his shirt off, flexing. Where you learn this from? We deserve the respect.
I'm with you.
We deserve the respect. But here's the thing. Does the world not understand that bodybuilders eat 6-7 times a day? The shoes that we wear, the socks that we wear, the clothing, the wrist wraps, there's more commerce in our sport. You actually need an elbow sleeve. Does an elbow sleeve necessary for a basketball player all the time? It's more fashion. Bodybuilders need elbow sleeves, knee sleeves, headbands, this and that. We need all that stuff.
That's a lot of business.
Are you kidding me? Beats by Dre should have been talking to guys like me or whoever. I've been working with a headphone company, but this should have been happening years ago, because what does a bodybuilder do? He has to have music to train, to keep himself motivated. We need proper food, proper sleep. So we're talking about mattress companies.
This is capitalism at its best.
Nike should be calling me up saying,
But that's,
I
don't think that's how it works, though.
But exactly, it's
I don't
not
think
how
that's
it works
how it
no
works.
more.
I think you guys need a guy that's thinking what you're saying right now.
I agree.
Because here's a couple thoughts. Let's just say I'm in your world,
Right.
okay? I'm hired to be in your world. Here's what I'm doing. Number one, the purse cannot be 400 grand.
It has to be $1 million.
I wanted more. Imagine if your first place is getting a $10 million contract, second place is a $5 million
For
contract.
sure, people are going to want to know.
That's
like,
the point. People are going to
I
compete
agree.
more. Now
I
here's
agree.
another part. What if Mr. Olympia is being shown on TV? Forget about the
Absolutely.
fact that we're doing it TV and then you do pay-per-view,
Absolutely.
and I can get this whole thing going
You have
for
to
it.
force it down their throat.
What
Like,
if I go out there and start doing more movies? Think about, like, even a small movie. Do you remember the movie with
Yeah,
Denzel
with
Washington?
Denzel
You mentioned
Washington.
Denzel.
Yeah.
Do you remember that scene? This kid wants to be who? Flex Wheeler. Give me the Flex Wheeler pose, right? Those small little comments, how many people know Flex Wheeler outside of the bodybuilding world? But those little things, someone's got to promote it.
Man,
So,
I should have been in Entourage. They be in the gym. They could have had me
Who's
as a
your
cameo.
publicist?
So that's
Who's
what. Well, right now I don't have one.
You need does WME represent you?
But that's where Mark in the back. He's got all that going on.
He's Sicilian, man.
But
He's gonna bring the mobsters after.
But here's the best part about this.
That works sometimes, though, man.
But here's the best part about it is that not a lot of people, and I appreciate this dialogue. I don't get to have this exchange very often. I don't think that the outside world thinks that people like me want that, because I've spoken to people outside. I've spoken to sales guys of Fortune 5s and this and that, CMO, CEOs, this and that. You know what they all say is like, I don't want to bother you. I couldn't imagine bothering you with something like this, because they're thinking it like, well, he has to eat, sleep, and train to look like that, because they're putting themselves into that. Here's the thing I would say to them. All elite of the elite have hobbies. Michael Jordan would go hit 18 to 36 holes during that 92 Olympics.
Lots of hobbies.
You know, a lot of hobbies. For some reason, the best of the best have hobbies away from their hobby. So find out what those are and realize that if someone said, hey, Phil, I want you to come do like a free throw shooting contest with kids and stuff like that, it kind of look funny because you're a big guy. I'd do it just to have fun with it. I could do plenty of different things.
Dude, you need a W, and and again, you need. There needs to be a collaboration with you and Rock, you and Kevin Hart, you and these guys. If I'm working behind the scenes, I need you to be on Kevin Hart's platform with 56 million. By the way, we're bringing Kevin Hart to our. I just booked him. Kevin Hart's coming to our event in August to perform in Vegas. You need to do something with Rock, and he needs to post it on his thing. Those are simple things. So you're the number one guy right now.
Right. So I think
I
think what's happening now, especially with Dwayne and his brand, is that they are participating in our world.
And that means to him because he's a fan.
Right. So he loves working out.
Yes.
I appreciate their work. I do also recognize he's probably the most busiest guy in Hollywood. This guy's doing way too much. He ain't got no time. So I appreciate any time he's willing to give. But I also think that there's other people, like you said back in the day when people used to go to Mr. Olympia. We used to get like guys like Gregory Hines there. We used to get like real celebrities, you know, like there. Where are they right now? We need to get them in, because every actor wants to get buff. They don't necessarily want to be Mr. Olympia, but they want to get stronger. They're hitting up trainers, you know, this and that, to go do their diets and stuff. But here's the best part. It was funny to me that I was, my fiance, she's great. She had me watching the Kardashians, right? So I said, what am I watching this for? She's like, oh, well, Kim got a trainer. I said, oh, cool. Kim had hired this lady to get her off of the foods that she was doing and stuff like that. So I looked at this lady, I'm like, wow, she lost a lot of weight and this and that. And she was into like competitive, you know, bodybuilding and stuff like that. So I was like, wow, that's really neat. And I give Kim a lot of credit, or whoever was managing this ordeal, because I'm thinking she took it upon herself to go find somebody that has lost weight and is female, but has more of an extreme side to her, because that's what she needed. She needed extreme change. Why aren't more athletes, why aren't more, you know, celebrities calling up the best bodybuilders in the world and saying, hey man, love your stuff, dude. Do you mind flying out during your off season? I'd just love to spend a week with you. I'd be all for it. I would do that throughout my whole off season. You know why? Because I'd be helping people out and presenting myself to them. And then they'd probably be like, man, I was visiting with Phil Heath, man. Man, he's a cool dude, man. We had so many similarities.
That's not hard though, Phil.
No.
I don't think that's hard. So let me ask you a question. I don't know the answer to this. Who is the commissioner of Mr. Olympia right now? Like, who is the main face?
David Picker owns American Media, which owns the Olympia brand. Our president of the International Federation of Bodybuilders is Jim Mannion. That's who runs it.
Is he a big promoter? Is he a big marketer? Is he a big?
So you need David. David is Mr. Pecker is the one that is in charge of all that, because he owns the brand itself.
It would be three things I would do like this. It'd get instant media, and it'd bring more attention back to it. I'd go to a couple corporate sponsors that are going to be making. I'd go have conversations with 3 of these health brands, Under Armour, Nike. Some of these guys sit down and say, here's what we're looking at. Why don't we sponsor and increase the purse? If we increase the purse, this is what's going to happen. Let's sign you a 10-year contract. These things are out there for somebody to negotiate these contracts. It's not like it's not out there. And
you're hitting it. I mean,
anyways, I'm not in the world.
I would love to sit on those conversations as well, because I would love to hear the yes or the no.
You know what could possibly happen? Here's what could possibly happen. And then we'll wrap up with the last topic. This is a prediction. This is a prediction I'm making. I'm not Nostradamus, but this is a prediction. Who is the biggest promoter in bodybuilding? Name. that is a Hollywood
Oh,
brand.
yeah.
Hands
Schwarz-
down.
yeah,
Okay,
of
he's
course.
a governor,
Yeah,
Hollywood, all this stuff.
yeah.
Okay, watch what I think could possibly happen. You already know where I'm going with this.
Okay.
I think if Mr. O, David, these guys you're talking about,
Right.
if they don't do a better job promoting what they're promoting, fast forward 10, 20 years, because he's going to, that thing could end up becoming just as big as Mr. O if Arnold Classic starts becoming that, because he's going to promote. Now,
I think with that, I think what's stronger with the Mr. Olympia is that that's who Arnold is. We're not Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger is Mr. Olympia. And so therefore the Mr. Olympia show will outshine anything, no matter how much
someone's
promotion.
got to promote it though.
I agree. I mean, I do, but I will say this in defense of what's going on. I do like the changes recently by saying, you know what? Who do we know? Oh man, we know Dwayne Johnson. Okay, well, let's invite him out to our shows, see if he finds this even worth his while. $7 Productions says, let's do something. And I have been told that like we're gonna be continually doing more.
That's solid.
So I can only be patient. The enthusiasm that we're having through this dialogue is great. I truly believe that that's what they want, because the group that they have are into working out, that some of them have competed. So they recognize like this needs to be showcased. You and I are the same. We want it today. Let's do it now. Let's do this.
It's gonna take a while.
And I do recognize it's gonna take a while. However, what I would personally like is just have me sit down. I should be sitting at that table, because I'm not some box of rocks, Stonehenge, meathead, this dude. No, I deserve to be at the table. And not just to say like, oh, this is how it benefits Phil Heath. This is how it benefits when I'm gone. Because I truly believe that a lot of bodybuilders, both men and women, all categories, have a great story to tell. We can't just rely on them to use their voice through social media, because it should also come from a major platform. We should be that we all should be contributing to. Okay, we have a federation. Let's work with the federation. Let's work with like saying like, hey, let's do some collaborative efforts in showing that this is what, because that's what they're selling.
Yeah,
they're not selling the athlete.
Well,
they're selling the organization, and they're selling the shows within the organization.
Let me ask you a question. I was briefly in the world to just kind of go in, and I would go see everybody. I remember when Greg Kovacs was there, Mike Matarazzo, you know, like these guys. Like, you remember when Bill Phillips wrote his book, was it Body for Life, the
Yes.
one that he wrote? Do you think a part of it may be that there needs to be education done on steroids, growth hormone, PED, because maybe there's a fear of, well, if we go to this point, you know, and there's a regulation comes in and says, you can't be doing this, you can't be doing that, you know, like it happened with baseball, then it may get a black eye, so it's better we stay the way we are right now. Let's not get into the national attention. Do you think there's a little bit of that concern on the people involved, that they don't want to get into deep with that topic? Because, you know, there is the on-camera answer, there's the off-camera conversation.
Well, it comes down to a simple point where, you know, every athlete has a choice that they want to make with their own body. It is what it is. And they can suffer rewards, but also consequences. There are those. Everybody's perception is going to be such. But we've also had the arguments of like, if Bo Jackson was playing today, would he be considered this, and this? They would say yes, but then, you know, so there are genetic freaks in everything. I do think that what needs to take place is people need to just realize that these are professional athletes, no different than any Olympic athletes that we've seen. They're all pretty much lumped in this category. What I would be focusing on is what they're able to do in their daily life with their ability to take the discipline that they have, living the life that they normally live, because people are competing because they don't make enough money. People actually have normal jobs. Like some of these women, they have like 3, 4 kids and this and that.
Of course.
If we were talking about like the triumph and all this other stuff, people like these stories. People need these stories. We watch 30 for 30s all the time. We watch E60s all the time based on triumph. There's a lot of triumph within the sport. So whether you want to talk about PDs or whatever it is, that's not even a question. What the question I have is why aren't these stories being told about people of triumph and how they were able to focus with all the world's problems going against them and focus solely on their physique and understanding like these people are able to self-diagnose every little thing that's going on in their body to look a certain way for a certain period of time. I think we should be sitting those people down and saying, please teach me, how were you able to gain this much muscle, or how were you able to keep your liver and kidneys and this and that. What does this diet mean? Why aren't you guys doing these fad diets? But the society has us being told that we need to do this vegan, paleo, all this other stuff. When you don't have to do this, let's have these conversations, because we are the guinea pigs for society when it comes to health and wellness. We understand that if I go out and eat a sweet potato or baked potato or red potato or a yellow potato, we know the damn difference. The outside people don't even know what that is. And we have all that knowledge, and people want to focus on PEDs all the time.
I don't know.
What they want to do is they need to realize that there's so many other permutations of diet and exercise. It's just crazy.
I don't think that's where I'm going with it. I think where I'm going with it is the following. So you said something. Whose show were you on? You were on the guy from Hangover. What is that guy's name?
You're talking about Brian Callen and Brendan Schaub.
You were on his podcast or something like that. And then they showed a picture of Tiger Woods, right?
Yeah, I was on.
And then you said something very interesting. You said, you know what Tiger should have done? Tiger should have came out and said, look, here's what I did. I messed up. And here's where I'm at with this part. And then people would have forgotten about it. And I agree. I fully agree when he said that statement. I said, you know what? The guy makes a good point. That's how you should come out. Even your, I think you're a follower of Tim Grover. I think you're Attack Athletics. You know, he said Tiger should have came in a different way and said, yeah, this is who I am. What do you want me to do? I'm a freaking cleaner. This is how I'm wired. I can't change my wiring, right?
Right.
So football kept saying, let's not look at CT. 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 Boom, Will Smith. Boom. Then it's like, oh my gosh. They could have done it a completely different way. I like what Adam Silver is doing. Adam Silver is kind of getting ahead of everything. Where, hey,
very progressive.
I think it's very progressive on the approach he's taking. And then you even see with marijuana. I mean, we're in Colorado right now. You know, you got to have the conversation. What is it? Should we do this? And so they came out and started talking about the real challenges with it. I think if bodybuilding would just come out and say and talk about it and say, listen, let me explain to you the level, average testosterone level for a 25-year-old, a 30-year-old, a 35-year-old, 40-year-old, 45-year-old. This is not anything more than I am eating this to produce this. I am eating this to produce creatine. If you do this, it helps you sustain this level, helps with immune system. The challenges are this, and you need to know this and this and this. You think there's a part of it where on the bodybuilding side, Mr. O or Arnold came out and he talked about a little bit more openly, I did this with my blood and all this other stuff. Do you think there's an opportunity to kind of come out and say, look, you know, if we want to compete at this level and this is what the market does, this is what we do. But in order to do it, we have this levels and we do this to take care of our bodies and our health, and this is what you don't want to do because you saw what happened with this other guy that just passed away. Do you think there's an opportunity for education with it?
I think there's education and everything with that, but the problem is that everybody is different. So everybody's gonna have a different story. And the problem is that everybody thinks that what one person is doing, everybody's doing. And that's the problem, is that one person is going to be speaking for everybody, it's going to be the extreme. It is, because that's
wouldn't that be education? So for instance, what I would do is imagine I have a panel.
But that would take so long. Like, think about it. Like, okay, so you're going to line up 500 people and give them the same type of blood work and this and that.
No,
and actually,
I'm not going to do.
And then actually, the problem is this: the average person isn't going to believe anything a person says. They're just not. Because if someone says, well, I had heard this person did this person said he did this, and you're telling me you don't, and the person says, yes, I'm not, they're gonna be like, you're lying. And it's like, well, then discussion over, dude, because honestly, I could show you pictures. Like, for me, I could show people pictures of what I look like at 13 years old.
Oh, I'm not asking a question of you. Don't take it as me going to you.
It's not. This isn't about me. It's just about like the perception of like having these conversations. I see what you're coming at. It's
I'm
like
simply saying there's a big misconception. That's all
for
I'm
sure.
saying. There's a big misconception.
For sure, but I think that should not disallow any corporate sponsor to be involved in this sport, because of the simple fact that, look, there are some amazing athletes. They're able to do incredible things. The determination, the drive, these are things that they motivate people. I motivate people from trying to kill themselves. I've motivated people with ailments beyond measure that make me realize, like, this is more their body than it is mine. I've won 7 Mr. Olympia titles, and I can be honest and say those titles are more for them than for myself at times when I read these emails, when I read these direct messages. And I'm very fortunate and blessed to have a platform where I could say, you know what, the motivation that I give someone, I'm just in there training. I'm just here doing my craft. And so that's what my calling is. My calling is, you know, they say, oh, you're the gift. What does that mean? I say, you know what? I have a gift. I used it to the best of my abilities. And I'm at the point in time in my career where I'm willing to share this with the world. I'm willing to share my experiences with business, with athletic prowess, to where anyone from all walks of life, man, woman, child can understand, like, this is a kid that didn't give up. We talked about my childhood, we talked about high school, we talked about college. A lot of whys in the road of why I'm here today. Are they perfect? No. But I made sure I used every ounce of resource and determination to get where I'm at today. And I'm no different than anybody else. We all have that heart, we all have that brain. We just have to have that confidence, and we have to be unapologetic to be successful.
Your life is very difficult.
Yeah.
Your life is very difficult.
But someone else has to tell it, because if I tell it, then it looks like,
oh no, it
you know
is
what I mean?
very difficult. Are you kidding me? 7 meals a day, you know, the heat at night, sleep, trying to get a good sleep to you guys is like heaven, and relaxing and not getting a cold or a flu or a sickness, all this other shit that comes with it. And at the same time, mentally, family, finance to come up. You don't have any money. You had 43 bucks when you first got accepted at $5,000 a month. But prior to that, you know, Flex Wheeler, I think, got your lunch for you, or some story like that. You were saying that he paid for those things, you know, that people don't hear. It is a very difficult world you're in. I respect what you guys do. All I'm coming from is, I'm just coming from a place of saying, here's a brand that's elevated to this level now. We've had some incredible champions. Haney 8 times, Ronnie 8 times, Arnold 7, you 7. You're about to do 8. You could be the first 9, 10 times. I'm sure your goal is to hit a double digit and not stop until you hit 10. That's a milestone that's going to be hard to hit. I just think there's a part of it where there is a education element to it. And I think that education could be done by professors, doctors that are on both sides. Like for me, when I want to debate politics, someone wants to talk to me about politics, I always like to have a Democrat, a Republican, and a guy in the middle.
Think of it like this. When was bodybuilding very popular? We could say when Arnold Schwarzenegger was doing it, right? We could say that right after Arnold Schwarzenegger was doing it. What was Arnold also doing? He was a part of the Governor's Board of Health and Fitness, President's Council of Health and Fitness. Guys like me should be a part of that. If you're Mr. Olympia and you're not a part of the Governor's Board of Health and Fitness where you live, or the President's Council of Health and Fitness, there's a problem. Because of the fact that guys like Schwarzenegger understood lifting. They understood determination. You telling me that I couldn't go to schools around the country and restore that President's Council of Health and Fitness test? They're going to be like, hell yeah, man, look at this guy. He's got, let's do this. And I can show them that I'm a functional athlete as well. Like, why isn't that happening?
Is Arnold working with you as a flag carrier, like bringing you up to be the next face of the?
No.
There's not a. You guys don't have that kind of a relationship.
No, unfortunately, we don't. I would love to have that, and I don't think
you would love to have that. So it's not a. Because I think
it's important, because you need to be able to have someone to pass the torch. And unfortunately, in this industry, I mean, we're all very busy, and I'll give Arnold that. You know, he's extremely busy man. I'll be seeing him next weekend. You know, it is classic. If I were to have 5 minutes with him and literally look him in the eye and tell him, say, look, what is it going to take?
I think you guys could easily have that conversation.
But I'm not saying that we couldn't. I'm just saying, like, he probably needs to hear it from me.
And it's amazing. There's a book. It's called True Believer. Okay, it's called The True Believer. Phenomenal book. And it talks about how if you really want to change something, you have to do it by people that are driven by a true belief, not based on monetary. You're a true believer. I mean, you're talking like an ambassador of the world you're in. This is why I asked the question from you. I said, who's the president, who's the marketer that can build up the flag carrier to come up?
I do feel like I have value within that. I do feel like they see that. I think it now is upon, look, sometimes I think it's not those people that have a problem or anything like that. Because they would tell me, say, Phil, you're not a good ambassador, this, that. I think it's them respecting the fact that being Mr. Olympia is very, very difficult. Like, does he even want more of this on his plate?
But you do want it.
But, so therefore, why would them out of respect for me, why would they come up to me and say, hey, Phil, we know that you have 365 days of hell, going to the gym, being the ambassador, you know, doing all this other stuff. We want you to do these commercials. We want you to do all this other stuff. We wanted you to do these handshake tours. You're saying this. Everybody is not like that in our industry. I am, though.
I don't know. I hope this sparks a conversation. I hope the right people watch this.
Yeah.
To kind of say, shit, we need to continue this conversation in a private setting and kind of see what we can do with this.
Well, I think, you know, for anyone watching and they're, you know, have an interest in this industry, I just listed a ton of different ways of how they could make joint venture with our organization, with its athletes as well, whether it be a Sony, Samsung, whatever, you know, like to put up the LEDs at our events and stuff like that. I mean, there's commerce everywhere. But to utilize our athletes in a positive light, I think it's easy. I think you just have to spend time with them. like what we're doing here. They just have to spend time and uncover some history of why they wanted to get into this at all. So then the public will see, is this guy just trying to be for the monetary, just like the cash grab? Or is he really trying to be here for that? And I can say for myself, I won the Mr. Olympia last year with no endorsement from a supplement company. I did do that. I proved that you could have certain hardships in your life, no different than anybody else. But I always focused on being number one and what it takes to be number one. And I think that story can help out a CEO, a Fortune 500 company, having a guy come in there and rallying up the troops to go get out there and do something. I feel like it could work with at-risk youth. I feel like it could work with young men and women that are dealing with suicidal thoughts and tendencies and stuff, because maybe they're trying to find themselves and they don't have anybody to talk to and to listen to.
Are you talking about this? Like, are you blogging? Are you documenting any process of what you're doing? Do you write on a weekly basis for people to?
I actually, well, as far as like Twitter and stuff, I utilize that.
No, I'm talking
but
about.
But as far as like compiling data for like books and stuff like that.
Your thoughts. Like, here's a thought of the week by you, and here's what I'm thinking about.
I mean, I'm not sharing that with the world. No.
I think you ought to consider it.
But I think it's important that I probably do, because obviously people probably think that, well, Phil is just concerned about winning, because being Mr. Olympia has to be difficult.
Yeah.
But I'm at that point in time in my career where it's all about helping other people and bringing more positive light and realizing that Phil's just a regular dude, but yet he's not. He knows how to switch it on. He's a professional at what he does, but he has other special interests. He wants to help people. He wants to get them in shape. He does not want kids to be obese. He wants to make sure that there's free or reduced lunch offered at schools. He wants to work with superintendents and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He wants to make sure that kids have meals, not focusing on, and here's something I gotta say real quick. I cannot stand this. School needs money, they need a new reader board. It's an inner city school, you name it, whatever city in the country. They need a new track and this and that. You know what they do? Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola come in and they give them the money. You know what they do in return? Put a vending machine on every corner, every hallway, of every floor of every building. You wonder why these kids ain't paying attention? You loaded up with damn sugar all day. They're gonna crash and burn. And now they're not getting the proper nutrition inside their own high school, and you have open campus. You don't think they're gonna go somewhere to go find it?
How often you talk about this stuff?
Every time I get a seminar.
Okay, so I got a challenge for you. Can I challenge you?
Oh, okay.
I'm a fan.
Okay.
Okay. You are a true believer. You have one thing that's very difficult to have. You cannot buy it at Nordstrom's. You cannot buy it at Neiman Marcus. You cannot buy it on Amazon. You have moral authority. You can't buy moral authority. Now, here's a challenge with some people with moral authority. When you have moral authority, if you don't voice your thoughts on a weekly basis somewhere that can be shareable to other people, not an audience of 1,000 or 5,000, that's too small. If you don't share that, and I read it at 12 o'clock at night, I'm like, you know what, I agree with this guy. Let me post it on my Facebook, let me post it on my Twitter, let me email it, let me text it to my guy. And then all of a sudden you got 50 readers, 500 readers, 1,000 readers, 100,000 readers, 300,000 readers. One thing gets in the hand of somebody at the DC and they say, we want to meet with you. And you get a call to come in. My challenge to you, as a friend, as a fan to you, would be, you and your girl, you're a disciplined guy. She does your diet. I heard how disciplined she is with the cooking and all this stuff that you guys do together. It's like a team thing you have. Once a week, whatever you rant about, if she pays attention to it, says, babe, you talk about this. Write about this week. And just 3 paragraphs. Start writing every week. Document it on your site. Let me come and see it and read it. Do it on your Instagram. Post a short video, whatever it is. Because I think that the part where Arnold got him to get to the point where he was at, he shared those thoughts. And even right now, look what he's doing. He's not the president. He's not, and he calls out the president all the time.
Right.
And so he's getting that attention. From listening to you, just sitting here listening to you, all I'm thinking about is, I don't think enough people know about that. And I think more people ought to know about it who are not in your world.
For sure.
So who are not in your world. And like what you just said right now, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, and vending machine everywhere, and we're wondering why they're crashing. I'm probably going to use that in another conversation when I go back. So next week, I'm going to be sitting with somebody. I'm going to say, last week I was talking to Phil. Let me tell you what Phil said. Phil, talk about it. I agree with him. What do you think about this? 1,000 people, 8,000 people, 17,000 people. Let me contact Phil.
Oh, for sure.
And so you're a smart guy. You're a brilliant guy. You seem like a guy that's close to the perfectionist type. No one's perfect, but you're a perfectionist type of guy. And I think you're not going to just say anything out of your mouth without some weight behind it.
No, and that's how you get killed.
You sound very interesting to listen to, by the way.
Well, I appreciate that.
My impression, I've listened and watched a lot of your stuff, but coming in here, walking away from you, dude, this industry is lucky to have you. And I just hope this thing gets to a whole different level where the flag carrier can spread this message to other people to realize how much this has bled into Hollywood, this has bled into sports, this has bled into media. And we got to bring that attention back to how it got started back in the day.
Yeah, it's got to come back.
All of that.
It's got to come back, and I appreciate that, and obviously the dialogue and stuff. And I hope everybody watching was able to get a different glimpse of who Mr. Olympia is. My headstone will not read Mr. Olympia. My headstone will read my name, Phil Heath. That's it. But it's now time to, like you said, share this information, have more dialogue, use the resources that we have through social media, and get the voice out there. And in our industry, spit out the knowledge, recognize how we've shared our knowledge, and bring it back. Bring that energy back into us. You know, I appreciate the time.
Brother, this was great. I mean, hey, listen, here's what we got to do. Here's what we got to do. You got to go follow Phil Heath on Instagram. Phil, do you have a website? Is it philheath.com?
It's Phillip. It's the government name. Phillip, yeah, Phillip, 2 L's. PHILLIPHEATH.com.
Is there a way to subscribe to a newsletter there or
yeah,
email?
they have a newsletter, and I also have a new app that's coming out. It's called the Fit app. It stands for Phil Heath Instructional Training.
So Fit app, P-H-I-T.
Yeah, P-H-I-T.
Okay, got it.
Yep. So it's Fit Now. So P-H-I-T-N-O-W.
Is it already out or it's not out?
It's already
yet?
out.
Oh, so they can go download the app.
And they'll be able to see it on Instagram. It's just at PHIT_APP.
Here's what I would like to see you do. I want you to go tweet Phil and say, Phil, I'm looking for your weekly thoughts. I want you to tweet it to him. Okay, I want you to go tweet at him and say, I want to hear your weekly thoughts
if they do that, here's the beautiful thing about that. You guys hit me up on the Twitter. You become a follower and stuff. You ask me something and you say, hey, saw your interview, loved it, hated it, whatever, want to see more of you, I'm going to give it to you. I will give it to you. It's when I don't see the participation because it goes both ways. So it goes both ways. So I hope I get to see you guys. It's at Phil Heath on Twitter, at Phil Heath on Instagram. And it's been a pleasure.
Brother, really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Yes.